Yes, it's amazing to be young. I'm Ralph Strangis. Welcome to the Ralphcast, the podcast, the TV show. And this week, I promised you in the Coachella Valley that we would have cooler temperatures. We do. But now it's starting to rain, and then there was this weird incident of my umbrella being carried over the wall into my neighbor's backyard, and that whole thing. But let's move on to the business at hand. On today's show, it's a good show. We have Craig Button, former Dallas Stars director of scouting and player personnel, and now, of course, Butts is a big-time celebrity, hockey maven on TSN, and he's their director of scouting. And Craig and I have a very long association, and we worked with the Stars for a long time, and he was there during the glory days. And Craig and I kind of see the world the same way, especially the Stars world. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And he's really a great source here. So I need you to pay attention to Craig today. Also, at the end of the show, we're going to have the Ralph Stack commentary, as we always do. And in today's Ralph Stack, we're going to talk about, kind of piggybacking on what Craig and I are talking about. So the Dallas Stars dressing room got their new coach. Now they got to play. They got to play a little bit guilty because they affected the change and what's ahead. So big show, the Ralph Stack and Craig Button. And so now let's move on and visit with our old buddy Craig. Craig, when we last left you, I believe the Florida Panthers were skating off with their second straight Stanley Cup, 3 straight finals. This just popped into my head. How much do the GMs hate Zito? Why can't he win a GM of the Year award? Like I don't get this. I like Jim, but how does Zito not win a GM of the Year award? Right? Weigh in on this for me, will you?
Well, I'll weigh in because it's one of the great unanswered questions because nobody will give you a straight answer. We all love Jim. There's lots of good managers in the league, but Bill Zito, 3 straight final appearances, 2 Stanley Cups, finds a way to keep the band playing together, makes those key trades that really give the team that extra boost, that little bit of oomph. And we know how important that can be at the trade deadline. Like he doesn't miss. And it is one of the great mysteries of why Bill Zito has not won a GM of the Year award, because there's no question. I'm going to go to what Daryl Sutter says about the Coach of the Year and the GM of the Year. Because the Coach of the Year and the GM of the Year is the ones that won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I mean, that's always a way to look at it, isn't it? It's funny because broadcasters used to, we got the vote for the Jack Adams. And we always had to have that Jack Adams vote in before the end of the regular season, usually about a month before the end of the regular season. And I thought, the best chance to evaluate a coach is in the playoffs, maybe, when we really have to look at nut cutting time and what decisions he's going to make or not. So why don't we wait? And, again, it's, no, because we vote for it in the regular season. Why did you ask? So, to me, it's who shows up at the very end, right? And who gets it done. What's your assessment of I don't believe that citing a guy's record is throwing a player under the bus. Hey, he hasn't been good enough. I don't think that's throwing a player under the bus. And B, it's always dangerous when the players move to get a coach removed, and I think that's what happened here too. What's your overall assessment of how Pete DeBoer left the Stars, or at the end of the day now with some time, did it need to happen?
So there's a lot to chew on there. Let me start with the player aspect. And you know this, Ralph. No player wants to have the perception that they're got influence on who's going to coach the team. No player. Now there is a caveat to that. Unless the coach is so bad and so terrible, and then that's the case. Peter DeBoer is none of those things. He's a darn good coach. He's a top-notch coach in my view. He's a top-notch person. So now the perception exists that Jake Oettinger might run the team. And I don't think Jake Oettinger wants that. Certainly, if you're the Dallas Stars, you're Jim Nill. Do you want that? I would ask Jim Nill this question. How many times did Scotty Bowman point the finger at a goaltender or a player during their run in Detroit? And did everybody bristle? Oh, yeah, maybe you didn't. But you said, hey, get better, play better. No, they had players. I think one of the big challenges for the Dallas Stars right now is that leadership group, that older group. I specifically look at Jamie Benn. I look at Essa Lindell. I look at Tyler Sagan. kind of that group that's been around. And I don't know if they have the same type of influence that you would like to see them have. And I don't know, but that's where a player, and I'm going to mention a Mike Keane, I'm going to mention a Guy Carbonell, where they would just go, he's right. The coach is right. Get your game together.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
get
Yeah,
going
let's
here.
go.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's lacking right now. I'm not saying it's lacking because Jamie isn't capable of saying those things or comfortable saying those things or Essa, but you also have to have the influence in the team. And I'm not so sure right now that influence is there where you can just say, hey, you know what, Jake? Like, take your tissues, put them away, and get playing. Because that's what it takes. When, I always say this, Ralph, and you know this, you've been around. I mean, we share the same philosophy. If winning was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
Everybody would do it. It's not
Yeah.
easy. And it's not easy, the friction that exists, coach, player to player. And I think that's an issue. One of the interesting things for me with Peter DeBoer is, I mean, he's had this great record of success. New Jersey, San Jose, Vegas, Dallas. And, all those teams fell a little bit short. But at the same time, he pushed them to levels that they hadn't seen. In some cases ever, in some cases in a while. And I think that if you want to win, you got to recognize, hey, where does the fault lie? Glenn Gulletson, we know he coached the Dallas Stars earlier. He went to Edmonton. He was blessed with a lot of talent there. It'll be interesting to see how Glenn. I always believe that a coach coming back with the experience underneath him that he's gained will help a coach. But this is a team that isn't looking to kind of find a new level. They're trying to find the ultimate level. And I think Jake Oettinger is trying to find that ultimate level too. And that's where it sits right now. And, Glenn's in a proving grounds to show that he can be better than Peter. And Jake Ottinger's in a proving grounds to show I got to be better.
The forward depth is not what it was last year. Tell me, where are the Dallas Stars headed this year? What are your expectations for this team?
I mean, Jake's a good goaltender. The blue line's in good shape, right? We know that. Heiskanen came back. We know he's an elite defenseman in the National Hockey League. My concern with the Dallas Stars right now is that they're a little bit lighter, they're a little bit smaller in a conference that has weight and heft. And what the Florida Panthers have shown,
Right.
and
with a coach, and with a new coach who's saying we got to be tougher. Right?
well,
Gulletson saying we got to be tougher. So,
the template is not going to change. It hasn't changed for 80 years. You need some size and weight and heft. And my concern with the Stars right now is they're a lighter team. And like Mason Marchment, like I love him. I love him as a person. And there's going to be times when players have their struggles for whatever reason.
yeah.
But sometimes like you just got to say that was a one-off. And who helps you there. So my concern goes back to. Like, I like Maverick Vork. Well, he's light. Yeah, I like Wyatt Johnson. He's light. I like Matt Duchene. They're light.
Yeah.
You can't have too much light in your lineup. Like, you're not going on a diet here. You're trying to bulk up for the playoffs.
Well, yeah. And again, Gulletson's saying, and we got to be beef. We got to get better at hand-to-hand combat. I think that was his. That was his.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, but you've got guys that don't exactly fit that mold. So we'll see how the evolution of this kind of goes. Anybody catch your eye this summer, Craig? Any other team that you go, you know what? Keep an eye on this team this year, especially in the Western Conference. Anybody you think had a really good summer?
Yeah, I think you have to look at Anaheim. I think Anaheim made huge strides last year. And I thought Greg Cronin did a really good job. And if you're going to upgrade the coach, I always feel, Ralph, the easiest thing to do is change the coach. Well, I said the second easiest thing to do is change the coach. The hardest thing to do is find a coach that's better than the coach you're replacing. Not easy to do, right? And so, Greg did a great job. Pat Verbeek decided he got Joel Quenneville. Well, it's hard to quibble with Joel Quenneville and his record. And where the team finds itself, I think Pat sees the team in a place where they can move forward. Trevor Zegras needed to move out. Not from my point of view, but from their point of view. Dostal's a good goaltender. The blue line is good. They got really good young players. And I thought they added some really good experience around that group that's going to help them. And I think that Anaheim is a team that I would be watching out for to really take a significant step ahead. The other team that, and they showed it against Winnipeg, is don't sleep on the St. Louis Blues. They got a lot of good young players. Their goaltending is good. And I think that's a team that you better watch out. Like they gave the Winnipeg Jets really everything they could handle right up until a second left in Game 7 when Winnipeg tied it up. Right now, I think it's inevitable that teams like the Edmonton Oilers, the Colorado Avalanche, the Dallas Stars, there's going to be a little bit of drop off over the summer just because of what unfolds with players moving along. But I would be watching out for Anaheim and St. Louis in the West right now. Not to diminish the opportunities for other people, but those are the two teams that I would say keep an eye on.
Well, I asked you. You're Craig Button, and you told me. So that's how this show works. See, I asked you what teams, and you said, all right, final subject today.
Well, let me ask you. We go back and forth. Who do you think?
I like Vegas. I like,
I do too.
They are the heavy, they're the heavy boy. Now they got Marner, and they're kind of, they kind of remind me a little bit of the Devils, the inverse of the New Jersey Devils in the 90s, where they just kind of went about their business. They did their thing. And then all of a sudden, man, there they are again at the, right. The Devils did it with boredom and traps and all that other crap. But the Vegas Golden Knights kind of, they've got league rules being changed to prevent them from doing things that benefit them at the, I remember Army always used to say, our friend Doug Armstrong, listen, just tell me what the rules are. And I'll, right? If those are the rules, I'm gonna use them. And I like Vegas. I'm a little concerned about Dallas. My Stars. Because it's hard to stay at that level. I don't care who the coach is. I don't care if DeBoer's still there. I don't care. And then B, just kind of the drop off of the personnel from the. They're not as deep. They're not heavy yet. We got a lot of wait and see here. All right, real quick then. Are you coming? Will you be able to afford to come to the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame event in November with me and Joe? What's the progress there?
The progress is real simple for me. When I heard the news, congratulations to you, congratulations to Joe. You're both iconic figures in the Dallas Stars organization and history. And we all went down there, Ralph, 93. I think, what was there, 8 or 9, 10 of us that went from Minnesota. And you see, I was there for Game 5 this year against Colorado. And that was I think the game started at 8:50 local time. And I remember sitting there and I'm going, wow, this is unbelievable. How far it's come. And you were a huge part of it. And, for you and Joe to be recognized, you're friends. And I think that it was just one of those things that put a big smile on my face.
Can't wait to see you there. And hey, man, thanks for hanging around today. We got a Super Bowl to win and a Stanley Cup to go after. So it's a big year for you.
Yeah, it's fun. What sports gives us, Ralph, is that in banking or in other industries, the performance is measured in quarters, right? You lose one night, you just get to come back, the next night, okay, it's the beauty of sport. And certainly the Dallas Stars getting deep into the playoffs, the bar has been set high, and that's where you want it to be set.
I'll leave you with this one, buddy. The great Lumpy Kelsenberg, owner of the Ideal Diner in Northeast Minneapolis, God rest his soul, used to say, Ralph, you live long enough, your team will be 500. Thanks, Craig. Have a great day, man.
You too.
Finally, in today's Ralph Stack, a quick follow-up to my interview here with Craig Button on what we view as a bit of a muddied situation with our favorite hockey team, and a goalie who's on the clock now and by his own doing, even if nobody realizes it. I had a player say to me one time after one of these things happened, sometimes playing guilty is the best motivator. Well, if that is in fact true, and I've seen it to be on occasion, the Stars and their fans could be in for a hell of a year. Or, and in the way more likely scenario based on the law of averages, the loss of forward depth, and a goalie who still hasn't figured out the playoffs, the Dallas Stars will take a step back. I had my guy Craig Button on the Ralphcast, the podcast, the TV show today, and we share very similar views on the Stars based on our mutual experiences with the franchise and around hockey. Butts was an original Dallas Star. He was one of the chosen few of us who came from Minnesota with the team to Texas. He was our director of scouting and player personnel and was with us over 10 years. Then Craig went on to Calgary to be the GM for the Calgary Flames. Now he's TSN's director of scouting and a North American media darling. Craig and I are critical of Jake Oettinger. You have to excuse us. We had Ed Belfour in there, and he got us rings. Craig and I have also seen every manner of good, bad, and indifferent at the position. That's what being old gives you. Craig and I also watch television, and we see Sergei Bobrovsky lift cups, and other goalies outplay our guy and go, And on this show today, we both wonder aloud how much power Oettinger wields in there, especially in the aftermath of this coaching change. We also talked about the difference in leadership between our glory days and now, and how the players of old would have handled things like this. Can I tell you something? The Stars players of old would have handled this, and it wouldn't have meant the end of Ken Hitchcock. For me, as long as this kid wins, none of this matters. I don't care about anything else. In fact, I could give a shit if Jake's great in the community, or what kind of a person he is, or if he goes or doesn't go to church on Sunday. The thing is, he hasn't won. They haven't won the big one. And Jake Oettinger can't get out of the second round. Now, I don't get invited on DFW area podcasts much anymore to talk Stars hockey, and a big reason why, and I know it, is I don't hop in with the local uncritical hockey media contingent. I don't tweet things about Jake and his wife for expecting a baby. I don't idolize him or other players. I don't play apologist. I don't give a stick tap to a goalie who got one third-place vote in the Vezina Trophy voting. I actually saw a reporter do that. What? Nah, your buddy here calls balls and strikes, and so does my friend Craig Button. And the Stars media is as uncritical a group as I've ever watched cover the team. I mean, they don't question anything. Jim Nill can say he won't interview non-North American coaches because they might not know where the door is to an arena they haven't been to. And crickets. No questions. No follow-up. But lots of adulation. Tons of adulation for Nill. The 3-time winning GM of the year. And he's the bestest, so how does anyone dare question him? Trust in Nill. Well, the truth is, the best GM in the league is Bill Zito. Period. You want to argue with that? You got issues. Zito has made the biggest, ballsiest decisions you can make and has had his team in 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. And the Panthers have won the last 2. Jim Nill's good. He's made some great deals. And that's his specialty. He's a transaction maven. And not too many are in his company in that regard. But he's not without his faults, like not interviewing or hiring people other than Canadians for his head coach and other top spots. That's not just a Jim Nill thing. It's an NHL culture thing. And it should be an embarrassment for the league that they allow North American GMs to not open up interviewing and hiring practices to 1/3 of the NHL player membership. But it's not. And lots of that is because of a complicit media who won't even ask the questions why. Here's more. Jamie Benn has been problematic in playoff games over the last 3 springs, and his skills are diminishing. That's father time. Yet the GM was uninterested in a dispassionate evaluation, and the media is only too glad to applaud loudly and again buy whatever Nill is selling. How about the new coach? Well, Jim Nill caved here to internal pressure from the players on the matter. The Dallas Stars let the winningest coach in the NHL over his time with the Stars go because the players didn't like how he handled his starting goaltender who wasn't getting it done. The only reason Jake Oettinger is 5-11 and not 5-12 in the last 3 Western Conference Finals is because Pete DeBoer pulled him in that game in question. If you're most of Dallas media, you fell in with the players line. The coach threw Jake under the bus. The players spun it, and the media swallowed it up whole. Well, except Tim Kalasha, another former Stars beat reporter who actually understands these things. Tim is an actual reporter and not a repeater. Tim says, get over it, players. He's the coach. You play. It's like that. Remember, what Pete DeBoer said after that game was Jake Oettinger wasn't helping, and he called out Jake's stat line in those conference finals. That's not throwing the player under the bus, even if the players say so. Players don't like it, that's fine. They're like that. But then the media jumped on it with him, and that gave the momentum more movement, and out went Pete DeBoer. And so, to the matter at hand then, it's done. They got it done. They got Glenn Gulletson on the bench. And now I'd like them to, in the words of that former player so many years ago, play guilty, if they can. The thing is, this isn't unprecedented. Ed Belfour hated Ken Hitchcock. He hated him. Ed Belfour didn't care for the media too much, and they didn't care for him. But Eddie knew he was the goalie, and he had to do that job. And he did that job. He didn't start a coup. Guys like that don't. Guys like Ed Belfour don't blame the coach for their own shortcomings. They get better. They own their mistakes. They own their misgivings. Ed Belfour was super self-critical. Ed Belfour was constantly searching for perfection at the position. Ed Belfour publicly called himself out, and he acted like a man. It's not always like that. Over the years, I've watched things like this happen once or twice, players calling shots like this. And it's never the guys with the big notches on their belts that get involved. It's the guys who don't or can't get it done. And their enablers who keep beating the drum that no matter what happens, it sure as hell is never going to be this player's fault. Here's what I hope. That All-Stars players really understand what just happened here and what it means. Because I'm not sure that they do. I hope they all use this as a motivator for this season and for their own individual growth. For Jake Oettinger, I hope he takes this opportunity for self-introspection and a reset as he attempts to finally join the upper echelon of NHL goaltenders. I hope the local media, any of them, start asking tougher questions and not simply transcribe and rubber stamp every answer a player or a coach or GM gives. But here's what I know for sure. The young media likes clicks. They don't want to be criticized or lose followers or not get attention on their posts. They like walking into the room and being recognized by this player or that. It's so exciting. So don't look for that to change anytime soon. It's a sign of the times. Remember, team employees, broadcasters, well, we have a different set of marching orders, okay? We're in the glass half full business. We got to spin it. That's the job. That's what we get paid for. Again, it's why I find lots of people, fans and media now, uncomfortable with me because I'm not spinning it every day. It's not my job to do that anymore. Here's what else I know. The goalie hasn't gotten out of the second round. And when it doesn't happen again this coming season, well, it won't be his fault, will it? Certainly. It won't be his fault according to the guys in the room or attending Dallas media or even a lot of the fans. And a year from now, the talk will be about how we continue to build this around Jake Oettinger, the guy who had such a great playoff series against Calgary that one time so many years ago. That's our show for today. Thanks to fellow Minnesota Vikings fan Craig Button for joining me. And thanks as always to the very game Kelly Ortiz, who despite not feeling her best today, arrived with the usual Starbucks order and a big smile at my door bright and early this morning. It's a wonderful time of the year, isn't it? The NFL is right around the corner. College football starts this weekend. The home stretch in baseball and the start of hockey and basketball are right upon us. And the U.S. Open tennis tournament is going on in New York now, and it's about to get really good. So enjoy your sports life and your sports weekend. And so until next time, and for now, I'm Ralph Strangis. We'll see you next week on the Ralphcast, the podcast, the TV show, right here